Welcome back everybody to a brand new video. Today we're reacting and responding to a video by My Sinister. So, title says behavior has no idea what they're doing, Dead by Daylight rant. Let's go ahead and find out, what this is about. So let's go ahead and find out what this is about. My thoughts so far is they're probably going to, well, at least from the timestamp, it says Blight, Oni, Kaneki, and Wesker. So they probably off the bat starting off talking about the stronger characters in the game. So this is going to be interesting to hear about. So let's get into it.
Developers have lost the plot of their own game. They have no idea how to properly balance anything. They don't know if they want the game to be competitive or casual. They don't know if they want skill in the game or not. Behavior recently nerfed Oni and Blight. They nerfed Oni flicks for some reason, even though they literally said they would bring mouse and keyboard to console. Blight no longer recovers his tokens when he performs an attack on a pallet. For some reason, these developers that have no competitive experience feel the need to speak on what they don't know. It feels like ever since HUGTech got removed, they just never stopped touching Blight. Whether it be double fatigue bug, Blight colliding with survivors, add-on changes, and base kit changes. They left Oni flicks untouched for years. Blight's collision was also untouched for years, and they randomly decided to change both of them out of the blue.
That's honestly my biggest issue with DBD's balancing nowadays, is that they'll make a lot of good decisions and good changes, and they'll have like good ideas for a little while, and then out of nowhere they start touching on things that have never been a problem. Recently in the PTB, we've had haste stacking, hindered stacking. All of a sudden, it's just getting changed. Like, oh, we don't want that to be in the game anymore. It's like, why? Like, what happened? So, I don't know what happened there. That, I think, is weird. Same thing with Oni. They decided, like, oh, that was a bug in the PTB, but, now we're gonna make it so that, Oni can flick on console, and then they just nerfed Oni so he can't even do flicks on either platform at all, PC or console. Nerfed Oni. Apparently, news to me, I didn't know Blight can't recover tokens from breaking pallets. Why is that being removed? What? So I don't understand, like, why they're removing these things. Like, they have nothing to do with anything. However, we do know that in the current PTB, they did change it so that Kaneki can't break pallets. No, it's the reverse. Kaneki can break pallets, but his power goes on cooldown when he does, so that you can't break the pallet and then like catch up faster. So I guess they decided to make that for Blight as well, because I guess they thought, oh well, Blight can do the same thing or something. But I mean, he still usually has to recover the amount of tokens he used, so I'm actually just confused by that, but whatever. But yeah, no, Oni got nerfed, Blight got nerfed a couple times, especially like with the HUGTech removal. It completely just screwed up his collision. At least in my opinion, I haven't even felt like playing Blight since that nerf, really. In my opinion, I think it just completely gutted the fun factor that he had. And honestly, I never learned the HUGTech on Oni at all, not Oni, I never learned the HUGTech on Blight. I just really enjoyed the smoothness that it was to kind of just go around the map and not like cling onto like pixels of a bush. Like a box just randomly sticking out a little too far will just grab you and then you get collision nowadays. But back before that, it was smooth. You can go down the hall in RPD and know, I'm not gonna get stuck on something. Like, I know that where I'm trying to go and where I'm trying to bounce from is going to bounce the way I need it to do. Obviously nowadays, I think it's just Blight mains who already know how to play Blight probably can adapt to it. As somebody who played Blight very casually and was just trying to just have fun on the side, I just haven't felt incentivized to want to play them anymore. that collision, as I've always had an issue with it. And I just don't really play Blight as much anymore. The collision is just way too strict. You don't have any way of just going around things. And it completely shifted the way he plays, which I just didn't find very interesting. But yeah, so Behavior has definitely had a history of doing that. They usually end up waiting for years and years before they decide, like, you know, go back on something and change something, instead of addressing the issues at hand. Because there's a lot of glaring issues that this game has that they just actively are not working on or not fixing. Like, there's a lot of map design problems, there's a lot of balancing issues. And I just really don't understand why they don't ever put energy into that. Like, it's kind of insane. Like, Eerie of Crows is still very, very one-sided, you know. Batum variations are still very one-sided. Just these maps are also just not very good for M1 killers. They haven't really given any buffs to those weaker M1s. Ghostface, I would argue, is one of the bottom 5 in the game. Like, literally one of the worst killers in the game. Objectively, literally the weakest killer in the game, honestly. I think even Pig has a better chance at doing something compared to Ghostface at this point. But anyway, let's hear the rest.
Not everyone can be a good Blight or Oni, but to the developers, these killers don't take skill. But they release Kaneki in pretty much the same patches. A killer that has excessive aim assist, which results in free injuries that can even go through walls. A killer that prevents you from making the next tile. A killer that has no cooldown with his power, and has a large window to hit a survivor. He can also vault over pallets and windows.
I do disagree with that slightly. Because the way that they're framing it is like that, you know, the Kaneki was like so unbelievably broken, like he's so uncounterable. Like, he does have counters, and it does take a level of skill. Like, you can't just walk in with a match of Kaneki and just win first game in. Like, you're gonna have to learn how to use the character. You can't frame it in that way. That's disingenuous. However, though, was the aim assist a bit generous? Yes. Was the range a bit generous? Yes. Did it hit through walls? Yes. Like, that is, I don't think that I wouldn't say intentional, but I don't know if they like really planned for that. I don't know for sure. But obviously in the PTB that they did release, they did bring the range down. They did reduce some of the hit detection on it. So they definitely brought him more in line with how he should have been, which is fine. But I wouldn't entirely say like he's just the most insane killer in the whole game. Like, he's just really just not. Like, like an injury, any killer could technically get an injury. It's not like, and you know, just, you can argue Blight can get fast injuries, but getting the down is the more important part. And that's the same thing that I would even apply to like a character like Legion, who supposedly is his main thing. Like, their main thing is getting injuries. They're not, you know, strong because they can get a bunch of injuries. They're not strong at all, actually. They're one of the weakest in the game. You know, Spirit honestly is better at getting injuries and following up, considering the fact. Just saying, you know.
And even if you do magically make distance against Kaneki, it won't last for long, because he will just catch up immediately. You will see delusional casual players say that Blight and Kaneki are similar, or that Kaneki is just a normal M1 killer. And it blows my mind.
No, I disagree with that slightly. I know that Kaneki is strong, and I know that he's fast. I've never heard the idea that... I wouldn't say that it's a casual player statement to say that. That's entirely untrue. Like, you can make that comparison to Blight, because they both move fast. And they can catch people... you know, they can catch people at long distances. They can catch people very quickly before they were able to reach tiles and pallets and things like that, and counter pallets and tiles. And arguably, I would say that Blight is a little bit better at doing that. Kaneki, however, like, is just, I feel like, is that combination of Blight, Wesker, and Legion all in one, you know, in that sense, where it's like they're fast, they're getting a lot of injuries, and there's like a token-based thing. Maybe more like Blight, Legion, actually, because Wesker is a different story. But Well, kind of. It's interesting, but anyway. I wouldn't say, like, it's a pretty fair assessment to say that they are similar. And to be fair as well, like, just because he has a bunch of dashes that can catch up to you doesn't necessarily mean that he's not an M1. Like, he's still an M1 at the end of the day. Like, he has a dash, but once you reach a tile and he's not, and if he, you know, like I've said, because it does take a level of skill to be able to get in the way and body block a certain way. From personal experience, when I've been playing him, I haven't been able to do that because I haven't understood where to, like, grab onto to make the right, like, direction to go in. I'm speaking for personal experience, like me using Kaneki, I haven't figured out how to do those things. So there is a level of learning that goes into it. It's not like a mindless character that you could just play and anybody can just win on. And I've played him on stream before, and I go, yo, like, I'm not getting these free wins, because that's a skill issue on my end. I haven't learned it yet. So it's a fair assessment to compare Blight to Kaneki, and it's a fair assessment to compare, you know, this guy to Legion and stuff like that, because their powers can be considered similar in some aspects. I wouldn't say they're entirely the same, obviously, because, you know, Legion is still slow and bad. It's still very weak. And Kaneki is fast and at least slightly better. So, slightly is an understatement, but you get the idea. So no, I disagree that it's a casual player assessment. That's disingenuous as well. You know, but either way.
Mind that we can share the same air together. You need to understand Blight's collision, bump logic, how to not get spun, how to play tiles, when you should and shouldn't use your rushes, and how to flick. Mind you, the survivors can actually counter Blight by counting his rushes. Being aware of their surroundings, vault the pallet, and have Blight's massive hitbox vacuum into it. They can crouch Blight and try to flare him and more. Last time I checked, Blight doesn't have aim assist for his hits. And if you don't have competitive experience with or against Blight, then your opinion is invalid. We don't need...
Yeah, no, it just seems like he's losing his mind about Blight and going, oh, you need to have comp experience. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't need comp experience to be able to make a comparison. That's completely disingenuous. And just wrong. Like that, like objectively. Anybody with a good amount of hours in this game, playing this game, can be able to tell you, like, yeah, no, they're similar in certain aspects, they're different in other aspects. But just because the character gets an M1 easily or gets, like, an injury easily doesn't necessarily mean that somehow it's easier than Blight. Like, it's really just not. They have two completely different powers. One is bouncing and trying to get angles because they nerfed Blight so heavily that they completely shifted the way he's played at all. So of course, Blight in his nerf state is focused on bounce logic, and then of course the rest of the stuff he was talking about is basically irrelevant. The only thing that you need to really know about Blight is bounce logic and trying to utilize those tokens to the best of your ability. That's ultimately what you really need to care about. When it comes to Kaneki, it's sort of like Blight and Legion together. He has he has like what, either 2 tokens or 3 tokens. And from there he has to be able to try to dash up and cut off areas. And like I've said before, like me personally, like especially because the killer just came out, and I play him on occasion, I don't really play him all the time. I still haven't learned, me personally, how to be able to body block people or cancel at the right times and things like that. So I'm saying from personal experience, it does take at least a level of skill to be able to do that. Now, am I saying is it harder than Blight? Probably not, right? You know, I just don't play Blight. That new collision, I've just never been a fan of. I just found it very tedious and just unnecessary to go through that struggle for no reason. It's just very unfun. But I would disagree, you don't need comp experience to be able to be like, hey, like, you know, Blight's a little bit more difficult because of the nerfs and everything, compared to the Kaneki that just got a nerf in the PTB, basically. 2 different things. I disagree with it entirely.
If you don't have competitive experience with or against Blight, then your opinion is invalid.
Yeah, no, you don't. Like I've said, that your opinion isn't invalid because you don't have comp experience. Like like that makes absolutely no sense.
We don't need Timmy Turner 2018, who doesn't play Blight, or who pub stomps fresh installs, to speak on balancing. I would pay money to see a developer actually play against top-tier players with Blight. Let's not forget v.h.s.x can...
He's saying that he wants to see developers play against people that are experienced with the game when the devs aren't playing the game. Makes no sense. Like, they realize, like, these devs are constantly working on other things, right? Like, I don't think the devs constantly are going to be able to go through thousands of hours of Survivor matches just to be able to understand, like, that experience, really. I'm just saying, I don't think that that's really a fair assessment either. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, what are you talking about? I would want to see the devs go against the high-level Blight players. It's like, okay, that's wonderful and all, but like, what do you think is gonna happen with that? Actually, do you want to see Blight like nerfed to the ground? Because I'm pretty sure if the devs see that, they are more than likely gonna nerf the crap out of Blight. He's gonna drop the C tier at that point, bro. Like, you do not want to tempt these devs. I wouldn't do that. That is not a smart idea. To be fair.
Still do his silly little techs that are also exploits. But I guess we're just picking and choosing who to nerf and buff, depending upon how good we sleep the night before. The developers added MMR, which in my opinion ruined DBD in general. So the developers want us to play against players of similar skill, yet they...
So I'm a bit confused actually, because this creator is talking about, actually... So I'm a bit confused. Because Sinister is talking about, oh, like the MMR ruined the game, but then on the same breath is also, well, probably not this actual same breath, because I don't, you know, it's probably text to speech and whatnot, but either way. On one hand, he's saying that, oh, the MMR ruined the game, but then on the other hand, you're saying that, oh, this killer isn't competitive. So like, what do you, like you need comp experience to balance the game, but then you also don't want MMR in the game. Like, isn't MMR literally making it more competitive as a game in the first place? So like, you gotta pick a hill, bro. Like, do you want the game to be competitive and people play competitive in order to be able to have the game balanced around competitive? Or do you want the game to be casual? By saying, oh, we don't need MMR in there. Like, dog, like, what are you talking about? Like, your points are conflicting. Hey, you can't balance the game and talk about Blight unless you play comp Blight. Unless you get played against the comp in the comp scene, so you can't talk about balancing. Like, what are you talking about? And then go, oh, they ruined the game with MMR. Like, make up your mind. What are you talking about? If there's a comp scene, they're gonna try to continue to add to that comp scene and make MMR at least a thing to show the game is a competitive game. I don't know, man.
Added old maid for this. Shoulder the burden. Anti-camp. 8 kick gen limit. Hook grabs removed. More aura reading for killers. Node and Blood Warden are still in the game. Yet they want to preach about balancing and skill. They remove anything skillful in the game. I can't take these people seriously when they added Skull Merchant and Knight into the game. And instead of nerfing them initially, they decided to add a kick limit to gens. And apparently...
So, well, I do understand where he's coming from, where he's saying that there are some things in the game that are unbalanced, and there's are things that sort of go against that sort of idea that they want to make the game competitive.
Hook grabs removed. More aura reading for killers. Node and Blood Warden are still in the game.
I don't think more aura reading is for killers is somehow contributing to lack of balancing. That makes, like, what are you talking about, man? You gotta pick a point, dude. Pick a point.
Added old maid for this. Shoulder the burden. Anti-camp. 8 kick gen limit. Hook grabs removed. More aura reading for killers.
Like, I can agree that they made the game a lot easier for Survivor, like, just because of like the no hook grabs, no hatch grab, yada yada yada, like all these other things. I can agree with that. More aura reading for killer? Like, how? Like, what? Like, how is that the same thing as no hook grabs? Like, what are you talking about?
Killers. Node and Blood Warden are still in the game.
And no one in Blood Warden Are we serious right now? Like, are we serious right now? Oh my god. So, hold on a minute. So, we're basically saying that because those perks are in the game and killers have more aura reading, that means that the game's unbalanced now. Like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. Okay, let me see if I can try to wrap my head around it. Basically, what you're saying is, like, I can understand it where you go, okay, you're giving survivors a lot of killer nerfs to push it to their side, but killer aura reading and blood warden and no-wed are just not on the same level of that. Because no-wed is countered by comp teams. They know you're gonna I've seen that happen. I think when I actually saw I think it was Druss and Bubba, who's like a pig main. He was actually going in like for a comp game or whatever. Like they set it up or whatever have you, and then he was he was playing pig. He was like going at the end of the match, and the no-wed never activated because they all cleansed the totems while also completing all the gens and everything. It was interesting to see that they knew it was coming. Comp players are most likely gonna counter it. And Blood Warden, like, nobody uses Blood Warden in comp. I'm pretty sure, don't they ban it anyway? Like, what are you like, I just don't understand, I just don't understand that at all. Like, either the perks are banned in the comp, like tournament or whatever have you. It's like the same way that if you go on to, say, a fighting game tournament, they're going to ban either a character or maps. Like, I think it was Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat that had a competitive tournament that had banned a map with tall grass. I think it was also in Street Fighter 2. They banned maps that have like high water that like hide the fighter's feet. And on Mortal Kombat they banned the map that had the tall grass because it made it harder for people to it would give them an unfair advantage, technically speaking, because they couldn't see like their feet when they would like fight or whatever. So if we're talking about like comp things and whatnot, they're going to ban those things. So even if you think that they're unbalanced, they're not going to be used in the comp scene anyway. So how is that being added into the same, like, that's not the same thing.
Yet they want to preach about balancing and skill. They remove anything skillful in the game. I can't take these people seriously when they added Skull Merchant and Knight into the game.
Now, I do agree that they do remove things that take skill, like things that players find that are like techs or whatever have you, that take a lot of time to learn and understand. They do remove those things, and I do agree with that. But I will say though that Knight and Skull Merchant being added in don't connect to that point. Like those are two different things.
Game. And instead of nerfing them initially, they decided to add a kick limit to gens. And apparently your MMR increases if you hide all game and do nothing, as long as you escape. But if you loot the killer for a long time and die, then you lose MMR.
So I do agree that the eight kicks shouldn't have really been added. My suggestion for the 8 kicks was really just to apply it to the last gen. So that because that was kind of the main problem with Skull Merchant at the time, besides the fact that the character could be used in that way to basically hold the game hostage, and that was a massive fumble on their end, of behavior's end. But I do agree that the mechanic was added in. I wouldn't say, I guess you could say it was because of the character, but the thing is that with that statement is the fact that the 8 kicks, I do agree.
To gens. And apparently your MMR increases if you hide all game and do nothing.
I do agree that the 8 kicks are a bit of a problem. Like, I get that, that's fine. Knight and Skull Merchant being how they were, I would say, yeah, like they did fumble that. That's true. That is true. And me personally, I think that what they should have done was just made it so that it activates toward the end of the match, because that's what it was supposed to like do. Like that was the the point of the mechanic, I'm assuming, but like the answer to that playstyle. But of course they didn't think of that, of course. But yeah.
As long as you escape. But if you loop the killer for a long time and die, then you lose MMR. Yeah, maybe don't call it skill-based matchmaking. Most people in pubs, whether it be killer or survivor, get carried by their builds. Instead of making the game based on chasers and being rewarded for them, they added win conditions in MMR 3K. For a killer is considered a win. Obviously escaping is a win for a survivor. DBD is an endless cycle. People bring the best builds because the other side does. And if you don't, then you're most likely not going to have a fun experience.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with that too. Unfortunately, that's just kind of how it goes. Like, you know, as a killer player, you can't really run fun builds and things like that because you're just gonna get steamrolled by the other side with with gen speed and things like that. And then obviously on survivor side, it's probably just like a similar thing. Like maybe they want to run different things, but probably they're going against like a player that is running like quad slowdown and things like that. So they kind of have to run things that like push out gens really fast. So it kind of ends up in a cycle. And it's unfortunate, but it's just kind of how that works. Just due to the fact that it is like a skill-based matchmaking kind of thing. It's like with MMR and everything.
I'm not sure why behavior refuses to either remove MMR, add a ranked game mode which has better balancing.
So everybody keeps talking about the damn like ranked mode, like every single time. Why don't they add a ranked mode? And then people literally tell them like, yo, it's gonna completely like just destroy the matchmaking for both sides. Literally, I've heard this many times. Everybody's always says this. Why don't they have a ranked mode? It's because the queue times are going to be incredibly long for both playlists. That's why they don't do it. We've seen this with 2v8. We've seen this with events. The queue time takes way longer when there's two playlists. And that's just how it goes. All the players either shift to one playlist or the other. A lot of people, and mind you, a lot of the player base aren't competitive. A lot of the player base want to basically sit on casuals and basically just play a match or two with their friends, and that's it. Or, you know, as a killer player, like, they just want to hop in, have a couple matches, and then just get off. Like, they're not, a vast majority of people are not at the top MMR. A vast majority of people are in the low, like below to average MMR. Just how it is. You know, people don't want to admit it, or people just want to delude themselves into thinking that they are higher in MMR than they are. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the vast majority are in that bracket, and then they're most likely going to stay in that casual mode. Meaning that the ranked mode would be added for basically just for no reason, because no one would even go in there. Or the few that would probably would struggle to find matches. And then that would be another thing that the behavior would have to figure out. And they're probably not going to try, because it's going to be a waste of their time. Then they have most likely other things to worry about.
Or add a system that rewards chases and completely changes what a win is considered. Where is the skill in using syringe styptic, off the record, buckle up, node, blood warden, aura, reading perks, DS, and
this guy's really harping on the aura reading perks though, eh? How is the aura reading wait, hold on a minute. How is aura reading compared to second chance perks on Survivor? What? What are you talking about? Oh, hell no, bro. Nah, you had me there at the first half, but nah. You lost me on that one. Like, oh, hell no.
He changes what a win is considered.
To be fair as well, like, to talk about what a win is considered, a lot of the time it is community-based. Because a lot of people say 3 to 4K is a win, just on average. And, like, I wouldn't say that apply. Maybe that, like that. I did feel like that was chosen by the community. I don't really think that. I'm not sure if the game says that at all. I know that if you get 0 kills, it just says like the entity hungers or whatever. But so technically, it's a loss. It's hard to say. But I've also heard that point too. They said, oh, why don't they make it like about hooks, or why don't they do this? You know, but there's not a perfect solution for this. And to add a system like this, that's like, oh, it has to be based around chase. To add a system around that, like, there's no specifics that they're giving either. It's just add this thing, and it's like, okay, so what do you want in it? And it's like, it's just crickets. Like, you don't even hear anybody break down a point as to how the system would work, how it would go. Like, how do you track this? How do you find this? How do you go about this? Is it a score system? Like, what are we doing here? Does it based off MMR? Like, you know, these people would have to, like, the devs would have to come up with something from scratch, and then that would most likely take a long time. So, you know, like, I'm just saying, I don't think that's, you know, you gotta give a little bit more than that if you're gonna try to make a point like that.
Where is the skill in using syringe styptic, off the record, buckle up, node, blood warden, aura, reading perks, DS, and cringe add-ons? The devs need to make up their minds.
He says cringe add-ons, bro, I'm crying. What are you talking about? So this is the same person talking about, wait, you're talking about add-ons, aura reading in the same sentence as second chance perks on Survivor? Like, how those two things are not the same, bro. They are not the same thing, bro. Like, oh hell no. And mind you, they didn't even get specific as to which add-ons either. Like, there's a different conversation for each add-on and thing. But also, I'm not gonna sit here and say that aura reading is the same thing as a second chance perk. Like, hell no. Like, hell no. Just because you can see a survivor doesn't necessarily mean you could down him, alright? Versus, you need a down and somebody eliminated, and they have perks that are giving them health states and second chances. Like, those are two different things. What are you talking about? Yo, what? Nah, bro. I have to make this abundantly clear, okay? Aura reading is what? You can see where they are. Okay, congratulations. But what does that even mean if you can't down them? If the survivor's skilled enough, right? Or if you're just not, like, or maybe, like, you know, if you're playing killer and you're just unable to get the down in any way, shape, or form, or, you know, depending on the killer you're using. So, like, say if I'm an M1 killer, like ghostface, and I have aura, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to easily down them. You know what I mean? There's still pallets around, there's still windows around, there's still the map design, yada, yada, yada. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get an advantage. Versus, if I down a survivor and then boom, they have DS, well, there goes my pressure because I needed that down and now they're out of my hands and not on a hook. Or I go after somebody and boom, dead hard pops, and I'm like, great, I needed that down to create pressure. Now I'm back to square one. I have to find a brand new survivor because I already invested all this time into this chase, and then it just got instantaneously removed, meaning that I just wasted a good 30 seconds or a good 15 seconds or a good 10 seconds or whatever have you. I'm going to lose a gem. Two different things. One can decide decide the outcome of the match versus, oh, I see the survivor. Like, that's not the same thing. Like, that's not the same thing.
Already about what they want the future to look like. Now, let's talk about everyone being randomly banned. Yet cheaters still run rampant. The false bans are ridiculous. They say it takes a lot of resources and time to respond to emails and complaints, or looking into bans. How is that the player's problem when you laid off over 100 of your employees? People paid money to play the game. People spend money on cosmetics and DLCs, and you have the audacity to act like the players don't matter. Without the players, who are you? Dead by Daylight is the only major game behavior is known for and successful in. And even they didn't expect for the game to be this massive. Hence why there are so many bugs in the game. Yet you feel entitled enough to give everyone permanent bans without a second thought. Yet cheat.
Hold on a second. So it seems like that it seems like Sinister here is like trying to say that, oh, the devs are like at behavior are banning all of us for no reason, and it's like Like, we don't know why why those bans went out. The last time we've even heard about those bans was a long time ago. So, I don't know, man. Now, sure, are there cheaters running around rampant? Of course. So they need to work on that? Of course. But to sit here and say, like, oh, we made you, it's like, okay, bro, like, relax. Like, I gotta say, bro, like, we don't know why that occurred. We don't know why that has happened. And I'm pretty sure everybody understands that, yes, like, we all are supporting the game in some kind of way. But to go to that extent, I wouldn't do that personally. I don't think that's really the point. You know what I mean? That's just me. And it's a kind of a strange point to bring up, like, in this, because it doesn't really have anything to do with anything else. And I'm pretty sure this hasn't been an issue for a while, so I don't really understand what the point of it was.
Especially on Epic Games, are everywhere and never go away. The game is like 8 or 9 years old, still plagued with bugs and cheaters. Same old killer versus survivor debates, still terrible servers.
Are we fully aware? Are we fully aware of the fact that this is a live service game, right? Like we're aware of this, right? Like, I just want to make that clear. Like, we're aware that this is a live service game. And I'm pretty sure if anybody knows anything about game design and anything with coding, the second you fix one thing, it breaks something else. That is just how games work. And this is a live service game, so therefore we're getting updates consistently, which means that things are going to consistently break, because that's how that works. Like, that, like, are we not aware of that? Like, that's kind of insane. Like, I'm not going to sit here and defend behavior like that, but let's be at least objective by understanding that that's how it works. Like, if this game was just a one game and then they release a sequel and then they release a sequel the next year, then I go, okay, like, maybe we can make the argument that, yo, okay, their games keep being buggy. But, like, this is a live service game that gets changed constantly, so things keep breaking. That's just how it works.
The game is like 8 or 9 years old, still plagued with bugs and cheaters.
Yeah, 8 or 9 years old. Yeah, there's going to be bugs. It's live service. Like, literally, another example could be like other live service games can be like MMOs. They probably have bugs in there. Same thing with probably Fortnite as well. Another live service game. There's going to be bugs. There's bugs all the time. Like, that's how that works. Literally. Fortnite has had many bugs over the years, and they have many updates over the years. Like, it's the same damn thing.
Same old killer versus survivor debates, still terrible servers, and still no real.
So the debates are pretty much always the same, you know, but that's just a community issue. That's not a DVD issue.
Same old killer versus survivor debates, still terrible servers.
The servers, come on now. Like I said, live service game, same old argument.
And still no real future vision for the game in terms of balancing. It's like,
well, that's completely untrue as well, because we did and when was this posted, by the way? 7 days ago. So they already announced at least before this was uploaded, they already announced that they have their health patch that they're trying to put over. Like, they already have that, like, they already have been putting that into motion. So isn't that literally by definition the literal path of, hey, we're trying to improve the game? Like, that's where we're trying to go in balancing, and they've already shown that they want to make things more balanced, quote unquote, and competitive just by the way that they're updating things.
Like, everything the devs do just contradicts themselves. I still think HugTech shouldn't have been removed on Blight. It was fun for both sides, in my opinion.
There it is. I was waiting to hear that too. I was waiting to hear that. I was seeing Blight gameplay the whole video, and then now I'm hearing the Blight hug text going to be removed. I should have known it was coming. No, I do agree though. If they did, like, the thing is that I never personally was able to learn it. I just enjoyed the smoothness of the collision. Now, would the hug tech have been fun for every single player? I wouldn't be able to tell you. I can only speak for myself, and I never really played Survivor when it was out, so I never really went against it. I think because it was a little bit more difficult to learn. But I don't think, like, honestly, I don't know if a lot of people found it fun or not. I don't. And I'm glad he said in his opinion, because that was, because we're just making assumptions if we say it was fun for both sides. Like, we don't know that, you know? So all I can say is if like, you know, despite the fact it did get removed, and unfortunately it just adds on to that, you know, that usual rhetoric that they just remove a lot of things that do require a lot of skill, which is unfortunate, you know, but it is what it is.
Blight is much more linear now, and his hitbox is the size of Europe, but behavior rather listen to people that goon, disable, and the casual player base, instead of actual good players, and
I'm not even gonna touch any of that points, bro. That's crazy.
players that actually want to improve. Everyone knows casual players make up the majority of the player base, but let's be honest, a lot of people play to win, and most casual players are delusional and speak on what they don't know. They are emotional and
Yeah, I'm just yeah, that's pretty much enough for me. I've pretty much refuted a lot of these points. It's interesting to hear. I don't think I hate to say it, but I don't really think that this video really has a lot of like sort of an objective sort of viewpoint on everything. It seems like they're really burnt out with the game and just really are very focused on just like just kind of mauling about the game, which is fine, you know, it is what it is. If you want to see the original video, it'll be linked in the description. There's about a minute left in it, so if you want to, I guess, see the rest of it, you can. But like the second we got to that last point, I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna get the heck out of here with that one, bro. Because that, like, you're just coming out of here with some, like, I don't know, that's just like a non-point. Like, you're just coming up with some like random stuff, bro. You know, I get that it's supposed to be a rant or whatever, but like, you know, even though it is considered a rant, you got to make points that people can actually, you know, respond to in that sense. So, you know, there's a lot of like, I know there's a lot of holes in these arguments and things like that. So that being said, thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. You can support the channel with the links in the description. Follow on Twitch to see me play Killer live. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about the video, some of the points that were made. I'll see you guys in the next one.